Hello and welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Keke, Life, Love, and all that other shit. I am your host, Keke Chanel, award-winning author, lifestyle blogger, and certified life coach. Today, I am joined with a very special guest, but you guys know how I like to do it. I like to give my guests the opportunity to tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we'll get into the conversation. So today, hello, my guest. Tell the people who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Satori Shakoor. I am a storyteller, writer, and social entrepreneur. I am located in Detroit, Michigan, and I am excited to be on Kiki's show talking about love and all that other shit. Uh, so I basically come on to share about being a storyteller and about my upcoming film coming out June 12th called Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale, because I'm on a mission to have women not be in the dark like I was when I was going through perimenopause and having all of these symptoms that I didn't understand that were affecting and impacting the quality of my life,
Mm-hmm.
basically driving me crazy with the hot flashes, the mood swings, and not knowing. So I made myself a promise at that time when I was asking other women, what could this be? And they would say, I don't remember going through this, or I'm too young when they really weren't, or trying to preserve youth. Because at the time that I was going through it, there were a lot of self-help books about how to get a man and the rules, and men are from Mars and women are so it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in your best interest to say I'm 50 or I'm 45, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
47, because you're supposed to be eternally perky, juicy, and relevant. And
Absolutely.
and so if you're looking through the male lens, you're sort of you're sort of benched for the rest of your life. And I thought that that was pretty sad when I had lived most of my life gaining wisdom and experience. And I was looking forward to this stage of life being the opportunity to embrace power, freedom, full self-expression. And there was no one around, doctors, and still right now, there are very few doctors that understand what menopause is, because the symptoms show up or don't show up very differently
Mm-hmm.
in everyone, but it affects the quality of your life in the relationships that you are in. So I thought that was very important. I created a platform called the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, where I bring each month four new storytellers, which I help them, I facilitate coaching. I teach storytelling, you know,
Absolutely.
because everybody has a story that's actually a gift to others' life. But if you don't know how to tell it and you're rambling around and I don't know, then, but if you know how to tell it, it's like it is the most effective delivery system of information
Right.
and ideas. So they come up on stage, they tell a 12 to 15-minute true and personal story. And we have musical guests and dance performances and a digital art show. And we've been doing that 13 years. And
Nice.
it still sells out because there aren't enough stories. And my mission is to get everybody, at least in the city of Detroit, to share their story, but ultimately everyone to tell their own story, because who can tell it better than you if you know how to
Right.
tell it?
Yeah, if you know how to tell it. I wrote my life story last year. Uh
Okay.
part one, because I have a three book series that's coming out. And it is hard. It is hard. And I like to be behind the scenes. So the fact that you're talking about storytelling, it makes me smile because I really want to tap into that, especially when it comes to sharing my poetry. Because poetry was one of the first things that I fell in love with as far as writing is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, I want to do a poetry book, but I it's all about the way that you share the experience though.
Mm-hmm.
That brings me to my first question. When did you know that you were a storyteller?
Well, I have always been a storyteller, but I did not know that it was something that you could actually be, like a
Mm.
physician. like
Mm-hmm.
a CEO of a company. I didn't know that because there was no category for it.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up I grew up with old Black women from the Alabama, Mississippi, Jim Crow South, and Southern people, especially older women from the South, they were my like grandmother figures. They knew how
Mm-hmm.
to tell a story.
They
I mean,
did.
it would just they'd pour that story in your ear, your mind would make a movie out of it, and
Yo.
it could make going to the corner store sound like Lord of the Rings. So,
I know. And I'm from Louisiana, so that's where I'm at now. So
okay.
you know I get it.
Plus those southern tones just were
Yeah.
hypnotizing to me. I didn't, but it was when I was telling stories with the Moth. The Moth is an organization out of New York, and
Mm-hmm.
they tell stories. So I had won a contest here in Detroit. So they were flying me around the country telling my story of losing my mother and then losing my son 9 months later. It was a story of grief, of loss, of crawling back to life and redemption, wanting to
Right.
live again,
Mm-hmm.
and falling in love out of that, and finding, oh, I'm too much. The guy is telling me I'm too much. I thought I was dead. That's a measurement.
Yeah.
So I told him, well, I, if you think I'm too much, I'm going for being way too much. I'm
Exactly.
going for being over the top alive. I'm alive, so see you later, sir, and thank you very much. You know,
Yeah.
but I was on stage one night. I don't know where. I think I was in Austin, Texas, and I was telling my story, and I noticed I could hear a pin drop.
Mm.
I looked out into the audience, and they were leaning forward, waiting for my next word, and I was like, "Really?" And then when I finished the story, people came up to me. They were thanking me. They were a lot of writers talking about the different twists in the story. And then I started getting emails from people from all over the world because I did their podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
it hit me. I'm a storyteller. This is
Mm-hmm.
my purpose. This is what I'm called to do in life. And then the people who were thanking me were relating to me telling a story like it was a service. And
Mm.
I was like, really telling my story is the equivalent of a service? I can
Yeah.
do that. I love to do that. I naturally am a storyteller. So
Mm-hmm.
I then owned that category, subsequently became a Kresge Literary Arts Fellow and started the first category called Storyteller that you could apply for this award in because they had poetry,
Mm-hmm.
spoken word,
Mm-hmm.
nothing storytelling.
Storytelling. Yeah.
So it had lost somehow it had lost its place in the category of art forms.
Got you.
So I'm very proud of that accomplishment that storytelling gets to be restored to this rightful place as a relevant and powerful art form. And now all you hear everywhere is storytelling, storytelling, story.
Yeah.
But back when I first started it, people didn't know what it was. Is this like Dr. Seuss? Can I bring my kids? And I had
Yeah.
videos. So created a YouTube channel and began to videotape the storytellers so that people could see what it looked like.
Right.
Yeah, and so now we're off to the races.
I love to hear that. I love to hear it. So we're going to talk about life a little bit. Can you share a moment when it seemingly was a significant event and you had to perform that impacted your life journey?
When you mean when perform on stage?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so many of them
Mm.
because I live on the stage.
Yeah.
Um, I had a brother that was killed, and I was doing stand-up comedy. I had a show the night, the next night
Mm.
before I was going back to Detroit to, uh, be with my family
Mhm.
and I was not prepared emotionally to be on stage, but I was booked. So
Right.
I tried to tell, I tried to make that funny,
Mhm.
make something funny of and it was just too soon. And I didn't really bomb because people could feel my grief.
Mhm.
But that really showed me that you can't really, you just have to be honest, you know.
Right.
And
Mhm.
even if you had, okay, so then I was in a musical, a play, and my I was in menopause the musical by the, and my mother died,
Oh.
and my son died 9 months later. So in
Mhm.
each following each of those deaths, it was very hard to do the role. However, as a professional, you rise to the occasion. And in
Mhm.
some cases, your performance is deepened. It's
Mm.
better. But there were times in Menopause the Musical where there's this there's this song, Sonny and Cher, I Got You, Mom.
Mm.
And I would have to tell them, can you hold the curtain just a minute, just so I wouldn't pour tears, you know?
Right. Right.
So you find out on stage when something in your life happens. Of course, when something great happens, oh, I got the part,
Right.
then you can go on stage and woo, you know. But when something that really has changed your life, um, or you're angry, you have to take that energy, whichever the however that energy is colored. It could be anger, joy, grief.
Mhm.
It's energy, and you take that energy and you put it into the character. You put it into, and that sometimes those performances are the most powerful. They're the funniest. They're the
Mhm.
most they're very good performances because you have that extra energy, and plus grief deepens you.
Oh yeah.
It takes you to a place, and my grief was, I wake up in the morning and who should I grieve, my mother or my son today? How can you package it all together? But I was so devastated that, you know, I had to, it was like wherever that grief took me, God had never charted a path there, you know, there was
Uh-huh.
no God there. And so I had to crawl back from hell, you know. And then one day I realized 6 years later, I felt this life in me. I wanted to live, not
Mhm.
not just be
In existence.
breathing. Yes,
Yeah.
I was walking through life, going to grief support groups, but I wasn't really there. Like,
Present.
and then I
Mhm.
kind of felt, ooh, this urge to live. I mean, really live. And
Mhm.
um, and that brought me back to life. And then I had these ideas as an artist, and I began to implement those ideas and to create them and to collaborate with others and bring others in with me. And
Mhm.
that began to reshape me, rebuild me, redefine me, give me a new way to be. Because when you lose your mother and you lose your only child, you're sort of floating around with no anchor.
Right.
And so it's like, who am I?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I had to create myself,
Mhm.
or
Wow.
recreate myself.
Recreate. Yes, that's powerful. And thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you being vulnerable and transparent with the audience and myself today. So I appreciate that. What is a piece of advice or wisdom that you once received and have carried with you throughout your life?
Okay, so all human beings get stopped by
Mm.
something in life.
Oh, wow.
It's inescapable. You set out to do something, and then doubts, fears, obstacles, challenges stop you. So I was doing a seminar at the time. I wanted to book Dick Gregory to do the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers.
Hmm.
And I'd gone to Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle where he was performing to invite him to come. I gave him a little bag with an invitation and a piece of fruit, and I took a photo with him and I put it on Facebook. And I hoped he called, but putting on Facebook and getting however many likes about it, that was kind of enough. Okay,
Mm.
because I
Hmm.
was afraid really that why would he want to be on my little show? And
Right.
and then Mark Sweetman, he texts me. He says, "Well, did you call Dick Gregory?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, I have his number." And I was like, "Oh Lord!" So he gave me his number, and I
Uh,
sat on that number for 2 weeks because I was stopped.
yeah.
I happened to be doing a seminar at the time, and the homework was push past the place you would normally stop.
Oh, wow.
Standing outside my favorite pita place, and it was like I'm pushing past right now. I made the call right outside before I got my sandwich, talked to the agent, and she said, "Oh, I think that Mr. Gregory would love to do your show." And he did.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Wow, that is a lot. I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that. So I'm glad that I came up with that question. Thank you. But I needed to hear that. So I know you have a project that's coming up and you did share about it a little bit. So let's talk about Confessions of a Menopausal for Film Patel.
Yeah, yeah.
Aside from you experiencing and not know what was going on and want to share the knowledge with other people, what has been one of the most important factors of creating this event?
Well, I'd never made a film before it, and so I didn't know the film industry, who the director would be. I just knew, and I had some money, but I had to go raise money. So I was basically, this is what I want to do, and I don't know how to do it, but I know how to write. So I started writing it in 2019, and then I was ready to film it in 2023.
Mhm.
And it seems like, I don't know how this always becomes true, but if you really, really commit to doing something, all of a sudden
If
everything
pieces
starts
fall
to
into
fall into
place.
place.
Yes.
And I got the exact perfect director. I performed it for 3 nights, 3 performances at Detroit Public Theater. I charged to get in to the theater, so that I raised money like that. I would do
Mhm.
little kind of Tupperware party fundraiser where I go to people's women's homes and do an excerpt from the play. They would, cook things for their friends, and we would talk about menopause. And I noticed that the women were chomping at the bit to talk about these things.
Mhm.
And at the time, menopause was taboo, it was stigmatized. And so for them to be able to talk, us to talk to each other and so I got a chance to see, oh, this is an important thing to do to get the conversation started. 2 years later, now that the film is getting ready to come out June 12th, I now work with the Michigan Women's Commission. I've gone to the governor's mansion. Halle Berry is like the face of menopause. Oprah Winfrey did a primetime show about it. It's almost kind of becoming mainstream.
Mhm.
Because the largest and most powerful demographic of women are women in some stage of menopause. We're talking 45 on.
Mhm.
We run for president. We're the Michelle Obamas. We're the grandmothers, the CEOs, the women who have gained knowledge, have wisdom at the top, governors. And so we're vocal. We want to
Right.
know about this stage of life because it's affecting our performance at work. It's impacting our marriages and our relationships with our children. And there are literally I think doctors spend 1 hour learning about menopause. So there
Mhm.
are very few doctors who know about it. So if you heard Halle Berry's story, she was misdiagnosed
Right.
with
Mhm.
herpes,
Herpes, yes.
and really it was menopause. And so it's like a demand for, we need you to pay as much attention to us and our journey as women as you do with men.
Right.
And so now that conversation is happening, and I'm getting ready to do a town hall on Monday. And I've been working with them to get this word out because they're going all over Michigan, uh,
Mhm.
with the governor and senators and other women representatives to sort of talk to women and educate women and saying this is not the end of life. And my film is not about medical things. It's about the taboo things. It's about
Mm-hmm.
my story. And we
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about menopause. We don't talk about fibroids. We don't talk about postpartum depression. We don't talk about any of the things that impact the quality of our life experience. And if
Absolutely.
we do talk about it, and we do get the support that we need, and it's and totally available in
Mm-hmm.
just being female and starting a conversation, we can't really be responsible for the symptoms. And so we're like having hot flashes and being ashamed of them, being in boardrooms, excusing yourself, having cramps or depression, having to stay home. So millions and billions of dollars, you're losing that in executive power because
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that it's a very important issue to discuss because it's the difference between life, quality of life. And once you
Absolutely.
address the symptoms, which are bothersome and scary, if you don't know what, then then what happens is that there's this parting of the seas or
Mm-hmm.
parting of the clouds, and there's your freedom,
Yes.
your self-expression, there's your power. And
Mm-hmm.
now you're free to be whatever that future is. So I
Right.
my film is a story about me reclaiming and resurrecting a former self that I had buried. I
Nice.
didn't talk about that. So I reclaimed her, resurrected her, embraced her, and restored that part of me, wrapped up that past, and all I was facing was a future possibility. And I
Mm-hmm.
created out of that. So that it's a story of redemption.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. How can we watch and support?
It's going to be streaming on Prime Video, Apple Plus TV, and Google Play.
I love it. I would definitely support. I cannot wait. If you have like a flyer or anything that you would like to share, just send that to me or have your people send it to me. I'll promote it on the website and all of my social medias because I'm 47.
Oh well,
I'm right in it.
it's your time.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, and I was my best friend and I were talking like a couple of weeks ago, and she said that she had a hot flash that stopped her in her tracks and had her on a wall for about 10 minutes trying to figure out if she was having a heart attack. Yeah, and she's a nurse, so she has made it her business to try to figure out what's going on so she can share the knowledge as well. So I know that she and I would may have to have a best friend date and watch it together.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. A whole group of women.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm excited about it. I am. I have an older sister and she turns 50 this year and she's been going through it. So she has been telling me some of the things that she has noticed. And so if I start feeling those symptoms, I'm like, okay, that's what that is. So I don't have to feel weird or something about it. And like you said, it's all about having a conversation.
What
Mm.
kind of symptoms has she noticed?
She's noticed where she's had a lot of weight gain, her cramping with her for her menstruation, heavy bleeding, irritability. She's a school teacher, so she's irritable. She curses sometimes because she just hope that's her release. But and then she gets emotional sometimes too.
Yeah.
And like not we all get emotional, but it was to the point where I'm like, what are you crying for now?
Right.
Not understanding. Like,
I was crying on Lucy reruns.
yeah, like watching a kid play in the park. I'm like,
Right.
what is going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the things that she has noticed. And as we talk about them, I'm like, okay, I get it. I understand. Trying to
Mhm.
be there for her because I am myself is right there in it.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so let's move on and talk about love a little bit.
All right.
How has your portrayal of love and performances impacted your personal understanding and expression of love in real life?
Well, I am married for the third time.
Okay.
It'll be 8 years next February.
Okay.
And so my first marriage was I would say it was I learned a lot in the first marriage. I learned that I didn't really want to be married. That we,
Mm.
that my advice now is, you know, wait till you're old and in rocking chairs, then get married. You know what I mean? Uh,
Uh-huh.
but so the first marriage was kind of like a trainer marriage. The second marriage was completely hormonal.
Mm.
I was 47. My hormones were out of whack. I was horny. He was fine.
Uh-huh.
Let's get married.
Right.
Year later, let's get divorced.
Listen, and it's amazing that we can laugh about it, but it's so true when you are on a growth journey. And like you said, you have gone through so much loss and grief and reclaiming who you were by crowing yourself out of darkness. It's like I don't have time for nothing else. Like
Yeah,
if it's not positive, I don't want it.
right.
And we lost a child in 2020 to a car accident.
I'm so sorry.
She was 19, but she was like the life of, I mean, she was just, she loved life. She was in college and flown, had a whole life ahead of her. And that was hard. It's still hard. I think about it every day. But it's to the point where it's like, if I don't do something, I'm no longer going to be here. So, yeah, I love that you say, hey, it's not working. I don't worry about what people going to say. Yeah, this is my second marriage, but whatever. It's my life and I have to live it.
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes to love, we get caught up in history or not being alone or what people will say about you being single or think that you something is wrong with you by choosing to stay single versus being in a marriage that's not fulfilling.
Well, when with the third marriage, I was doing the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. I was fulfilled in my purpose. I was happy being single. I was traveling. I had, I mean, I was full, fully myself.
Mm-hmm.
And my before, you know, my I didn't know him, but he had been coming for 8 months to my shows, watching,
Mm-hmm.
listening to my stories. And I guess he was coming with his mother figure, and a good friend of his, another dentist. And he kept saying, I like her. And they kept saying, well, go and introduce yourself. And he
Uh-huh.
finally, after 8 months, introduced himself. And my stage manager was like, he's really nice. You should really. And so this was someone coming to date me or to get to know me in fully myself, happy. There was nothing he needed to do to make me happy. There was
Mm-hmm.
nothing he needed to do for me to be in love with myself and life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very, very, I learned what love is for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it obviously you can have the belly butterflies and you can have the swoons and you can have the great sex. But at the end of the day, love is love is that day to day choosing to be with the person. Because he asked me to marry him. He asked me, did I like his house? I said, well, no, I don't like the location. I prefer to live in this area of Detroit. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to live in a house you lived with a former wife.
Mm-hmm.
So he was willing to sell his house and for us to buy, you know, look for a new house.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me and he says, if I sell my house and I start to look for a new house, are you with me? And when I looked at it and looked into his eyes, I said yes. And I think that was the moment we actually got married
Uh-huh.
because I knew that I could not let him down with this, you know, because he was gonna be carrying he carried two mortgages for a couple of months, but it
Yeah.
all turned out fine, and you know everything fell into place. And
Mm-hmm.
and then was very difficult for the first 2 years being married because I had been single, and of course anybody you're in relationship with, they're a whole cultural identity and experience. So
Mm-hmm.
communication, all, you know, you're getting to really know the person.
Right.
We hadn't built any kind of history because I went on my first date with him July 2017. We were married February 2018.
Oh,
So
wow.
there was
Nice.
no history
Uh-huh.
to build on. We had to create history and
Yeah.
memories. So
Yeah.
now it's everything is great. He just retired yesterday.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yes, and so I learned that love is a day-to-day commitment. You know, looking at your partner and seeing him for who he is and the unique gifts he's bringing me. Not,
Mm-hmm.
not what TV or society says a man should be,
Right.
have and do, but actually what he is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw his beauty, I'm like bombastic, and he's more reserved, and he like he worked in dentistry for a long time. He was in the military, so he's very regimented and
Uh-huh.
logical, and doesn't like conflict. And I don't like conflict either, but I'm willing to confront conflict to get to the resolution, to the peak,
Right.
to the
Right.
other side of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're learning each other. We're having good time, and so we had the our vows were basically, aside from the church vows, divorce is not an option. So I take my wedding ring when I felt like I wanted to get divorced, take
Uh-huh.
it off, put it in the top drawer of the dresser until I felt like, okay, I want to be
I
married.
want to be married again.
He never even noticed.
Oh, wow.
But for me, it was, we can't get divorced, but somehow I got to express this. I hate you
Yeah.
right now. And
Right.
I tell people all the time, if you're getting married, book the church, book the reception, book the therapist.
Uh, wow. Wow. And I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Because my husband and I coming up on 20 years of marriage in
Wow.
July. And hey, and I'm gonna just leave it like that. It is a daily process and you have to want to be in it. And some of the hard parts is if you're in it and you feel like they're not in it. But he's a great dude.
Yeah.
And we our paths crossed when we were 16 years old.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
High school,
high
sweetheart.
school high school sweetheart. Went into college, broke up for years, and then found our way back to each other.
I think it's important to break up for years and find your way, because then you get a chance to separate, grow,
Mm-hmm. and
come, and
and
then
see who you are without that person.
yes.
Uh-huh. Yes,
Mhm.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
um can you share a moment in your career when life, whether romantic, platonic, or self-love, played a pivotal role in your performance or artistic process?
Um, I did this show in Toronto, which was a big hit, called The Kink in My Hair.
Mm.
And I was playing an older woman whose husband had died.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked out of her window after having baked a sweet potato pie, and her grandkids couldn't come over, and so she had this pie, and she looked out of her window and she saw Charlie pruning his tomatoes, and she got this tingly feeling that she never ever felt before, not even with her husband.
Mm.
And for some reason she just couldn't help herself. She walked out of that door and asked Charlie, would you like some of my pie? He came over and they talked for hours, and it was a great play. But I was playing her like she was 90, because I didn't know what it was to be older, right?
Over there. Mm-hmm.
So I was playing her like she was 90. But I remember pulling my back muscle. So there I had to move kind of slow, and I couldn't go up the steps to this, to do some of the other parts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I remember, because I had that pull muscle and I had to still go on, that me having to, so I said, one of the lines was, I ran out of the door and I was limping like this. And the audience just lost it, because it was, because that was me running.
Yeah.
And so it's like, whatever happens to you physically, emotionally, psychologically, put that into the performance.
Mm-hmm.
It shapes it, and it gives you new things to draw from, that even after my back snapped back together, I still could use that.
Yeah.
I could still use that because it worked, right? And
Yeah.
that show went to um, the United States, Toronto, went to England, hit lines around the corner called The Kink in My Hair.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, life experiences definitely you have to lean into those because it's a part of your journey, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
All right, and before we get out of here, last question. As you continue to blaze the trails for other women in your industry, especially women that look like you, how do
Mhm.
you stay grounded when dealing with all that other shit that comes with life and love?
Well, I stay grounded because I'm always creating.
Mm-hmm.
Being a social entrepreneur and being a woman of color, I
Mm-hmm.
learned a long time ago that parts aren't going to just come to me. I would have some girlfriends who were white, and they would be auditioning 2 or 3 times a week or more. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, may, maybe auditioning once every 2 weeks for something. And it never was anything really big or juicy. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like I noticed I was sitting around waiting for somebody else to give me an opportunity, along with however other women like that look like me, one opportunity amongst all of us. And so the odds, and so I that's when I decided, plus I'm impatient as an artist. If I see it in my mind and the idea is delicious, I want to see it in the world
Right.
now, right now.
Uh-huh.
And so I can't wait around. I'll ask you for funding, but I'm not waiting for you to decide whether you're going to give it to me or not. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to do this and I'll find a way. So what grounds me is reinforcing with every project that I complete that I can complete any project that I decide to do. So that gives me this grounds me in confidence. It grounds me in collaboration because the things that I create, in, they're collaborations. There's nothing individual about it.
Mm-hmm.
I want your ideas. I want your expertise. I want your know-how in lighting, yours in sound, your background in this or that. So it's always a team. And the first thing that I produced a local TV show when I lived in Hawaii called Satori's Tea Room. And the first time I saw it aired, I saw all of these people, the credits, so and so did this, and it would just run on the screen. And I would be blown away by the number of people that involve themselves in something, an idea I had.
Yeah.
They were all there. We had our wrap party. Everybody was so happy because everybody got a chance to express something that they did
Mm-hmm.
through this one project.
Right.
And I was like, wow, you know, so producing became just part of my life. It became a joy. I loved them running up. How do you like this lipstick color? I think it's great. And
Yeah.
in that role, you can empower people.
Yes.
You can share, you can tell people how much you love what they do.
Mm-hmm.
You give approval. And if
Mm-hmm.
even if you have to even if you have to do a correction, you can create a way to correct that doesn't diminish them or devastate them, that it enlivens and challenges them to
Right.
greater artistic heights. So I love, what grounds me is collaborations, the support for that collaboration, the fact that people are getting joy expressing themselves in through this project that they might have not been working before on,
Mm-hmm.
and that I get to set the tone of joy, empowerment. And so I say just do it, like Nike. Just do it, because somehow, and I don't know, this may just be how this medium called Earth works. But if you think about it, you dream about it, you focus about it, you obsess about it, everything just falls in place. Don't know
I
how,
love it.
but you have to share. You have to open
Oh,
up your mouth and tell people about it. Just be a maniac.
yeah. Yeah. You have to share because they won't know that it's there otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So thank you,
Thank
Satori,
you.
for coming to kick it with me today. This has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you. It sure has. I could talk to you forever.
I know. And I'm looking at the time like, okay, we can't stay here forever because then
Right,
we have
right,
to go into part two or whatever.
right.
But I appreciate you coming and
And
dropping
please
your
tell your
wisdom.
daughter I love the artwork that surrounds you.
I will definitely tell her when she starts selling the artwork, I'm going to be so upset because I'm like, you're going to have to make more for me.
Yes. Make some prints of those.
Yes. And she is getting into print too.
Mm.
But she is a bright light in my life and I love her dearly, dearly, dearly. And I do have a 16-year-old son and he is just coming into his own and he's in the arts too because we had his choir concert the other night and just watching him on stage light up singing and you can actually hear him so he's singing out loud and it's just a proud mom moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
thank you so much for having me
absolutely.
and for your support. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. Always. And you're always welcome back whenever you have the time because I know that you are very busy, which I love. I cannot wait to see the film. Continued success and blessings to you. And to everyone listening, tell the people how they can connect with you. Where do you hang out on social media or website or anything like that before we get out of here?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can go to my website, satorishakoor.com, and hook up to my link tree and see articles and things that I'm up to. And it'll lead you to twistedtellers.org. So you can pretty much see that. But come out, well, stay home, really, and stream Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale. Laugh, cry, and get your life.
Absolutely. And all of her information will be in the show notes, guys. So there's no excuse than to go in and see what she has coming up or going on or get to know her by looking at all of the other stuff that she has uploaded on their stream. But until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. I am back every Thursday with a new episode of Kicking It with Keke, Life, Love, and all that other shit. And purple hugs. Later.
Thank you.